The L-TWOO Hydraulic Disc Brake Group Set is the perfect group set that we've all been waiting for. $190, you should go buy one right now. Is how I originally wanted to start this video, but unfortunately, I can't. I really wish that's how I could have started this video, but I've had the group set in my hands now for around 6 weeks, and unfortunately, it's not been plain sailing. First of all, let me say it is close. It is so close to being what I hoped it was. There are a few small problems though. A few small problems and a few big problems that are kind of raining on L-TWOO's parade right now. Anyway, I'm going to try and let this video play out in the order that events unfolded, and you can kind of come along with me for the ride. What's up everyone, China Cycling here. Christmas Eve, I was just putting the last touches on this video, getting ready to upload it. And I noticed that Trace Velo put up a video unboxing the group set too. And it kind of changes some of the things that I say in this video. So I'll address that at the end of the video. But for now, just watch this video through and I'll talk to you about it at the end. Okay, peace. So I went to the launch event back in October, and then on the 28th of October, I put up my first video. Check that up in a minute if you haven't. In that video, it was about riding it at the launch event. Then about a week after that video went up, I got my hands on my very own set to build a bike up myself and try it out. And yeah, so let's see how that happened. Around the first week of November, I got my own and did an unboxing, and here's how that went. It's finally here. Let's take a look. So what do we think? First, let's take a look at the packaging. I think it's pretty nicely packaged, a nice sleek black box, and then in the box, everything nicely spread out in there. It's nice to see this, the addition of mineral oil included, so that's obviously helpful. Let's put that to the side for now. Those who watched my last video will remember I said that they made their own mineral oil and it's blue, and this is not blue. So yeah, we shall see what's going on there, but for now, let's put that to one side. Other than that, packaging is pretty nice. Everything seems nicely well packed, not gonna get damaged in transit. We've got the front derailleur, the rear derailleur, 2 shifters, 2 brakes, and it looks like, yeah, all your mounting gubbins for various different brake sizes, etc. So we'll start with the front derailleur here. Looks all right. We'll see how heavy it is in a minute. Rear derailleur, pretty long cage on there. Again, this is the 2x12 speed edition with a half carbon pulley cage, but again, a pretty long pulley. Like I said in my last video, I think officially supports a 34 tooth cassette, but they say 36 usually works, no problem. That actually feels pretty light. The spring in there feels pretty good on the pulley, and the parallelogram, what's the word? The other spring feels pretty nice and stiff too, so should give us some nice crisp downshifts. Next, the shifters. Oh, so it looks like we're gonna get this out of here. Yeah, so all your cables are hidden down below here. Let's start with so cable spaghetti going on here. And shifter number 2. Let's sort that cable out in a sec. Next up we have the brakes. So brake hoses attached. And then yeah, front brake and rear brake. Let's take those out as well. Okay, so we have the scales of truth today. Let's fire them up. So we'll start with the easy one today, the front derailleur. 104.27 grams. Rear derailleur, 219 grams, bang on the money. Now, are we gonna weigh these with the cables or without the cables? We'll do them without the cables. Let's be fair. So keep the whole shifter on there. So this is the right-hand shifter controlling the front derailleur, 280 grams. The left-hand shifter controlling the front derailleur, also 280 grams, or 281 if we're being pedantic. Brakes, again, do we measure them with or without hoses and with or without these? Let's just put just the caliper on there, I guess. Not the most accurate measurement in the world, but 135 grams. Let's see if the other one weighs the same. It depends on if we have the cable. So with the cable, 176 grams. Without the cable, or with half the cable, I guess, 142 grams. So the brakes themselves look like they weigh about 130-ish grams, and the rest is all of your cable or your hose weight. So pretty interesting here that on the hoses we have these nice little caps, so you're not gonna have any oil sneaking out in transit. Everything else looking pretty clean. Again, I can't stress that in the hand, these shifters feel very comfortable. Trigger, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Nice feeling of the rubber. A nice fit in the hand. Rear derailleur. Jockey wheels, spinny, spinny. So on the inner cage, we have metal, I guess aluminium, outer cage, carbon fiber, and like I say, a nice strung spring there, and a nice strung spring here, so yeah.
Now, everyone watching this channel knows I'm a bit of a rim brake fanboy. I think for road bikes, rim brakes are just fine. So having a disc brake group set in my hand, I was kind of left with a solution, but without a problem. At that point, I had like 7 or 8 bikes already in my stable. I think everyone was kind of expecting me to slap this on either a Windspace SLC or a T1500, but I already own both of those brakes in rim brake format, so owning the same bike in rim brake and disc brake format seemed a bit pointless. So I decided to go for something a bit special. This is a Serk A30. If you've never heard of Serk, I'm not surprised. Serk is a Sino-Aussie brand that has been building titanium bikes for about 8 years. It's the brainchild of Shannon Buffton, an Australian who's been in China for even longer than me. He's been at the heart of the expat bike community in China since the early 2000s. Running a bike shop, organizing adventures like doing an Everesting on Mount Everest itself, before turning his hand to frame design. Now, the visual attention to detail in this frame is stunning. Every time you look at it from a new angle, you notice a small detail you'd previously missed. Now, this is the materialization of Shannon's personality. He is obsessed with the smallest of details. I think you'll agree the obsession is not in vain. The result is gorgeous. The frames are hand-built in Beijing, and a quick look at who's riding Serk and you start to wonder what's special. You've got Ji Cheng, who was the first ever Chinese pro rider to finish all 3 Grand Tours. He rides the Serk. Andy Van Bergen, the founder of the concept of Everesting and Hell's 500. You know, he's a cycling journalist who could get his hands on any bike he wanted. He rides the Serk. Urs Keller, the head of DT Swiss Asia, you know, he's got every brand that they OEM for in his phone book. He could dial up anyone and get any bike he wants, but he rides the Serk too. Anyway, I'm gonna go into more detail on this frame and this bike in another video, so let's get back to the L-TWOO Groupset. Now the build was pretty straightforward, or at least so I'm told. Working in a bike company, one of the advantages is lots of my colleagues are very handy with an Allen wrench, so I actually had my colleagues build it up for me. It was around the time we were getting ready for Black Friday deals and stuff, so I was super busy with that stuff. They installed the brakes and bled the hoses and set them up exactly how they would a Shimano system. And they were just noticing that the travel of the brake levers was really, really long. It was as if there was air in the system, but there was no air in the system. They bled it and bled it and bled it and bled it again. 0 bubbles, 0 nothing, but still the brakes felt spongy. There was like nothing, and just at the end of the brake stroke, like there was some brake, and to the point where you could still move the bike with the brake fully pressed. And when you let go of the brakes, basically the pads moved away from the rotors and left a huge gap either side of the rotor. Anyway, I got in touch with L-TWOO, told them the problem, and they gave me some advice. So you guys know how like most hydraulic brakes will auto adjust over time to account for pad wear. You know, over time the pistons go further and further in automatically. So they told me to use that to our advantage. So he said, drop the wheel out, you know, drop everything out and just squeeze the brakes with nothing between the pads. Squeeze it a few times and you'll notice the pads moving in closer and closer. And once they've moved in by a bit, put the wheel back in and see how you get on. So I gave that a try. Like, it was actually really hard to do, you know, it goes against everything you've taught yourself, you know, never pull a brake lever when there's nothing in between the pads. But so I did it a few times, squeezing it, seeing how much they moved in. This time with the wheel in and the rotor in there was a smaller gap between each side of the rotor, and now pulling the brakes, okay, I actually had brakes. Problem solved. Ish, you know, I had brakes now, but the lever travel was still pretty long, but it was okay to go and ride. And now one thing I think contributing to this is that, you know, Shimano, they have a whole kit. When you buy Shimano calipers, you also buy Shimano rotors. And so they know, like, their rotors are 1.8 mil wide. They know about pad clearances, yada, yada, yada. With the L-TWOO kit, it doesn't come with rotors. And so they have no idea what thickness rotors you're going to use. I think some mountain bike rotors go up to like 2.2, 2.4 millimeters wide. And so maybe that's why they put a bigger clearance in there. Okay, speaking of rotors, that was kind of like problem number 2. When I first set it all up and I was getting ready to go for a ride, when I was spinning the wheel, I could hear this faint tick, 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 ticking sound. And I couldn't figure out what it was. Then I realized it was part of the rotor actually hitting the caliper. The rotors were Shimano SMRT 800 rotors, and the black bit of the rotor that the silver bit is mounted to, that was just ding, 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 ever so slightly catching the caliper. There was 2 things I could have done. I could have filed away a bit of the caliper because literally it was just a hair's width, or I could have put a couple of washers between the caliper and the fork to move the caliper out slightly. Also would have fixed the problem. What I actually did was say sod it, and I put some SRAM rotors on there, and it was fine. I'm not sure how I feel about this issue. I mean, it wasn't an end of the world thing, but you know, Shimano Ultegra rotors aren't exactly super rare, uncommon rotors. Like, I'm surprised they didn't bump into this issue before. Admittedly, it could be the fault of the fork. You know, if the fork mounting holes are in the wrong position, then that's going to cause the same issue. But I measured it as best as I could, and in my eyes, this looks like it's up to the Shimano specs. So I don't know where to point the blame on this one. Again, not a deal breaker, but a small problem that makes you go, Anyway, you guys be the judge. So, bike was built, good enough to ride, and I went out for a few rides. Shifting is perfect, like exactly the same as what I experienced on the launch event. Shifts up, shifts down, 3 gears at a time, 4 gears at a time, crisp, everything, no problem. And then for the brakes, the stopping power is there, you got so much stopping power, but it seems to come in really late in the lever. You know, when you pull in the levers, you get nothing, 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 and then towards the end, boom, the braking power all comes in. Now, when you're riding on the hoods, it's kind of okay, I don't know, it just feels natural, but when you're in the drops, it gets to the point where you're pulling the lever in so far, like your hand gets in the way of the lever, and you end up, it's really, really weird. And the end result is that, like, I felt like I couldn't really brake hard in the drops. So I'm doing descents with hairpin turns where you need to brake hard, but then I have to be on the hoods, and obviously everyone knows when you're descending, you don't really want to be on the hoods, you want to be down in the drops. So yeah, and yeah, so from messing around, what it seems to be is the first like centimeter or 2 or 3 centimeters of the brake levers, the pads just don't move at all. It's only once you get past that point, the pads start moving. I compared it with a Shimano Ultegra disc brake groups that I had here, and also the Shimano ones also have a little bit of this like dead zone in the levers as well, but like it's about half of what you get on the L-TWOO setup. So yeah, just the pads don't move for a lot of the lever stretch until they start moving. So yeah, like this is the current situation here. You have to pull the brakes like this much. So yeah, you know, you have to pull the levers, you know, they don't hit the bars. Riding in the hoods feels okay, but when you're in the drops, like you pull it in and then the shift lever here hits your own hand. So you have to move your hand kind of like out of the way and pull it in which when you're doing that, your hand's no longer on the bar. So yeah, we're close, but not quite there. And yeah, so if I kind of show you by rocking the bike backwards and forwards, how much we can pull in the lever before we get any brakes, Yeah, so I can feel the resistance here. So like that's where the braking starts, all the way back there. And then here, okay, the brake's dead. But yeah, from here to here, there's just nothing. All this movement here is basically a dead zone. One other problem that I found a few times, a bit of a small one, is sometimes I found myself, I just couldn't shift to a harder gear, like the button was just jammed. And it was really hard to narrow down, it was really hard to recreate this problem. It would only happen like once every like hour of riding or so, and I really couldn't figure it out. However, when I did figure it out, what I realized is happening is the big lever for going up a gear, sometimes when you let go of it, it doesn't go all the way back home. It actually gets caught on the brake lever. And when this lever for going up a gear is half engaged, it kind of disables the thumb lever for going down a gear. And yeah, so this problem here with this shift lever, so what happens is sometimes after a shift, it doesn't go all the way back home. You can see here, its home is actually there. So yeah, it's hanging out here when it should be there. And what that causes, when it's here, you can't press the downshifter. And then when you push it back in its place, now you can press the downshifter. And yeah, so basically these two levers are both kind of fighting to be in the same place. And then so yeah, there's just some friction there, so it can't quite go back to where it wants to go back. So yeah, pretty easy solution. You just have to make sure that the lever goes back to where it should go every time. But again, just one of those things that it shouldn't really be doing this. At the moment, both of the levers are exactly how they came out of the box. I've not tried to find any reach adjust or anything. I think there is reach adjust for that shift lever, so I think I'll have a fool around and see if I can use that to fix that problem. Again, it's a pretty small issue, but again, this is one of those things where you only notice it when you're riding it for 6 weeks as opposed to just the 2 days at the launch event. Now, the final problem has been pricing and availability. Now, I kind of knew this would be a problem. I mentioned it in the last video just because the demand has been overwhelming. L-TWOO, they can't build the thing quick enough. Even in China, it's really hard to get your hands on the set. And so occasionally when sellers do get hands on them and they throw them on AliExpress, it's super overpriced. I think I saw an AliExpress for like $420 US or something like. Okay, still cheaper than some of the other brands, but it's not really the bargain price that we're wanting, yeah? And it's definitely higher than the Chinese price. I can't really blame L-TWOO for this one. And I think it's a problem that with time, it will just go away as supply and demand kind of figure themselves out. But yeah, I know in the comments, it's something that's frustrating you guys. Yeah, just be patient, I guess. Now, I did actually reach out to L-TWOO about these problems, the main problem being the brake lever reach. And they told me that they were aware of the issue and they've even fixed the issue. They say this issue is now fixed. All of the future made group sets don't have this problem, yada, 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 etc., etc. I say, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, the ball's in your court. I've asked them to provide me an updated one so I can test the updated one to make sure. I hope it's right. I hope I can take their word for it. And yeah, if the problem is fixed, then I think we'll be there. Like, I think I'll be able to start the video how I want to start the video by saying, this is it. This is the group set we've all been waiting for. Go out and buy it. Will I be able to say that? I don't know. Subscribe so you don't miss the new review when that comes out. But yeah, I did tell them I wouldn't post a full review until I get my hands on the final updated version. So this isn't a full review. This is just an update because loads of you are asking like, yo, what happened? You said the video is coming. It's not coming. Yeah, well, yeah, now you know why. I'm pretty frustrated by the whole ordeal, and not because the group set is trash. Like, actually the opposite. Like, the group set is so close to being good, great, amazing, like exactly what the industry needs. A cheap, affordable, high performance, hydraulic, road bike, disc brake group set. Like, it's so close, and that's what makes it frustrating, because you're there guys, come on, just don't go this last little bit. I can't wait for them to get there. You know, like, I don't even ride disc brakes, I like rim brakes, but the little riding of this bike I've done, this bike is absolutely great to ride too. Like, again, separate video of this bike coming soon. This bike ride's totally different to my other titanium bike, so I'm really looking forward to being able to give this bike more love too. Yeah, so like I said, dedicated video of this frame and bike coming forwards. In the meantime, if you want to check them out, go to serk.cc, have a look around on their website. If you tell them China Cycling sent you, I think you'll get a discount, but again, in the dedicated video, we'll go into more details there. Anyway, that's just it. That's this video, a quick update for you all. I think we're almost there. We're so close. I really want to get the updated version. I hope it's everything it should be. Let's do this. Next video I make about this. Let's see how it goes. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Give this video a like. Share your frustrations with me in the comments down below. And yeah, China Cycling out. So yeah, Trace Velo just dropped his own video unboxing the group set. And yeah, really interesting. So first of all, his group set looks different to my group set. So if you look at the thumb shifters, he has a little golden RX logo on his, which I do not have on mine. And this kind of puts merit to what L-TWOO was saying to me, L-TWOO was saying to me, that my group set isn't a final group set. Maybe that's why mine is a little different to his. But then he was saying he was playing around with his group set and the left shifter seems really stiff, whereas mine doesn't seem stiff. I mean, he's not loaded up the bike yet, so maybe it'll feel different once he's loaded the bike up. But yeah, there definitely seems to be some differences between our two group sets. So yeah, really interested to see how he gets on with his build and how his brakes get on too. Also, I saw in his unboxing, like, he had no oil. So like I said in my video, like, I had mineral oil in with mine, but it wasn't the blue special L-TWOO oil that it was supposed to be. It was just some random red mineral oil. And then he had no mineral oil, which is weirder still. Now, I don't know if that's how it left L-TWOO. L-TWOO is the Chinese name, by the way, and I always accidentally call them L-TWOO instead of L-TWOO, sorry. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's how his left L-TWOO, or if the seller took it out of there before they sent it. Another weird thing about his set, he had a huge kink in the hydraulic hose. And he, like, kind of, I guess he's like trying to comfort himself because he just paid like £300 or whatever. He says, oh, you know, maybe it happened in shipping, or maybe the seller did it. Like, I don't know. That was a big ass kink. Yeah, I don't think you can be shipping stuff to paying customers with huge kinks in it like that. So yeah, if you didn't see his unboxing, go check out his unboxing after this video. I'll put a link down below. He paid cash for his, like I didn't pay cash for mine, but I think you can tell in this video, like, I'm not pulling any punches. I'm trying to just tell you guys what I see as I see it. But you know, he paid for his with his own cash. He actually paid quite a lot for his. So yeah, go over to his video, give him a subscribe, give him a thumbs up, help him get some of that AdSense money. But yeah, like in general, like I think all of this adds to like what I don't like about most Chinese brands. So, you know, everyone sees me saying good things about Chinese brands, blah, 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 but one thing that you see quite a lot with Chinese brands is like differences between the first batch and the second batch and the third batch, blah, blah, blah. And that's something I really don't think you see in Western brands, you know, like when Zip comes out with a new pair of wheels, like the first batch and the last batch are probably the same. Like when Shimano comes out with a group set, the first batch and the last batch are the same. Like, and I think that's one of these things with these Chinese group sets that I hope they can change as quickly as possible. Like the first customer and the last customer should get the same thing, you know, they all pay the same money, they should get the same thing. Anyway, I think the story is getting really interesting now because it seems I do have a different group set to him, and so we'll see how his compares to mine and then see what problems he has with his, if they're the same as problems I have with mine. I'm actually on Christmas break right now, and my bike with the L-TWOO on it is at the office. I don't have it here with me, but a couple of days later I'll go back to the office and I'm going to start playing around with it a bit more to try to get to the bottom of this brake lever feel. Anyway, longer video, just made longer by Trace's upload, but Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you all stay safe. There's a huge new wave of COVID hitting China right now. Like, you've probably seen on the news, China's opened up and suddenly COVID's everywhere. Like everyone I know, like my circle of friends here in Xiamen, like 70% of people, maybe 60% of people have got COVID. I'm okay so far, but I do have a bit of a sore throat, but I'm testing every day and not COVID so far. So yeah, everyone stay safe. Life is what it is. Merry Christmas. Stay close to your loved ones. Keep riding bikes. Yada, yada, yada. China Cycling out. Wow, so okay, I'm an idiot. So these little holes in the front of the brake lever, inside there's an adjustment screw, and it will basically adjust like the preloaded hydraulic pressure on the brake system. Yeah, with a simple screw. So put an Allen key in there, rotate it like 1.5 turns, and that basically fixed my problem. If you look here, you can see like on one side I've got the before the adjustment, on the other side I've got after the adjustment, and yeah, night and day difference. So it basically just took out all of that dead zone in the brake lever, and that's that. Now, why did I leave this in the video, or how did this get there and all that stuff? So first of all, okay, you can kind of blame me for this, like I don't do disc brakes, yada yada yada. I don't know if this is a common thing with disc brakes. But second of all, like I showed L-TWOO my problems. I showed them exactly what symptoms I had, and at no point did they suggest like using this little adjustment screw. Furthermore, no instructions are included with the group set, so I had no idea this screw was even there. The random hole in the brake lever, like, yeah, maybe I should have investigated more. But as I said earlier in the video, like, I didn't build this bike. I was super busy with Black Friday stuff. Yeah, my fault. And so why did I leave this in the video? I left it in this video 2 reasons. Number one, if someone else is having the same problem, they'll hopefully see this and recognize the symptoms, and then they'll know how to fix it. And number two, just to like demonstrate like how easy it is for these brands just to totally trip up and like have a massive PR disaster. Like, you know, if I had put this video up and edited, which I almost did, like this video was set to premiere, and in the last 2 hours before the premiere, I've re-edited it and re-uploaded it, and we're good. But yeah, like, you know, this would have gone up and everyone would have been thinking that this group set was trash, when in fact it's not trash, it's just user error or a lack of instructions, yada yada. So anyway, easy fix. If you have the same issue I have with a super long lever travel, this little adjustment screw in here adjusts the preload of the brakes. I've not tested the outside since this adjustment. This adjustment was actually done by one of my colleagues, and he sent the video back to me, but it's looking good now. The only thing I'm worried about now is that the pads are now closer. Maybe there'll be some brake rub, so I'll do some riding and get back to you on that. So yeah, I think all YouTubers should take this as a reminder, myself included, that we have a lot of responsibility to make sure it's not us at its fault, it's the product. Like, we could put up a video and destroy one of these young brands, like, in their steps. So, my bad, I hold my hand up for this one. I was wrong. I'm leaving it here so everyone can see I was wrong. And no excuses, and that's that. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to now give this a few more miles riding outside. Me and Trace Velo are also in communication. We're going to compare notes on his and my experience. And yeah, I guess in the next few weeks, you're going to have lots of videos coming up about the details on this. Okay, this video has gone on far too long. Hope you all had a good Christmas. It's now Boxing Day. Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah, this time for real. China Cycling out.